Hi. So I'm really happy to be here. I'm sure it's my third Shakacon, and every year it becomes bigger and bigger, and it's really nice to be there. So let's start. So my name is Paul Rascagneres. So for English people, it's not so easy to pronounce. Generally, it's really funny for me. And I'm from France, and I will use my best Foglish for you today. And I'm security researcher at Talos and involved in malware research, reverse engineering, and stuff like that for 7 years. So additionally, I'm one of the organizers of BotConf, conference located in France, and we are looking for sponsor, of course. And the CFP is still open. It will be closed on Saturday, so if you have research about botnet, malware, incident response, all this kind of topic, we are really interested, and feel free to reply to the CFP. So I didn't do this research alone. I work with a colleague, and I got a bio for my colleague too. It's Warren. So just for information, he doesn't know I've got this picture of him. So I really recommend you to take a picture, tweet to him with the picture, and add the hashtag #cybercowboy. I think he's sleeping. He will be really happy to have this a lot of tweets like that tomorrow morning when he will wake up. I think it's going to be fun, or not, I will see. So, of course, he organized a conference too, but it's in Ireland, so it's raining, it's bad, they have cheap, so go in France and don't go at this conference, of course. It's a second point. And yeah. Why I'm here today, so I'm gonna show you how APT actors is changing the way of the use infection vector to be a real pain in the ass for malware analysis. They modify some stuff to block us during analysis, and I will show you 5 case studies where we had a lot of problem to have a big picture of how it works, how this actor compromise system, because they start to use interesting tricks. I will quickly speak about mitigation and how you can protect yourself about this kind of thing. It's nothing really new. It's common stuff, so I won't take too much time on it. At the end, you will have a conclusion. And I decided to add a technical bonus if I don't have too much question and I've got the time, so I really recommend you to don't ask question. And I will have time to do everything, and I'm here for all the day, so you can ask me question after. It's not a problem. So, what's new? For APT actors, the most valuable part is the complex remote administration tool or zero-day. It's what costs a lot for this group, and of course, they try to keep this information secret, and of course, they try to don't give to malware analyst security companies this valuable code. And to do so, since few most years, they are trying to modify infection vector to be sure to infect the good people, infect the targeted people, and not infect sandbox or a virtual machine, or even if it's physical machine from malware analysts. So I will show you how they do and what kind of modifications they did. So my first use case, I named it NATO, simply because the file name of the malicious document was NATO secretary meeting. You've got the hash if you want to play with it. And it's a kind of Matryoshka dolls Reconnaissance framework from my point of view. And here is the document. So it contains a flash object, and this flash object was really specific. So first thing, I don't know if, yeah, he used capabilities server strings API, so it's a legitimate API from Adobe script, and this API generate automatically an HTML request with all the configuration of the where is executed the Flash object. So basically, he sent to the CC the version of Windows, so the attackers know exactly which version of Windows is running. And something interesting is ActiveX here. So if the Flash object is executed inside of Office document, you have ActiveX. But if you extract the Flash object and you execute it alone without Word behind, you won't have ActiveX here. So thanks to this flag, for example, the attacker is able to exactly know if it runs on standard context inside of Word document, or if it was extracted by an analyst and executed outside of Office. So it's something interesting for the attackers. And of course, you've got the Flash version sent to the CC in this case. So everything was sent to myropc.org/NATO. The thing is, if the sent information was correct from for the attacker's point of view, we received a second Flash document with additional data, and this second Flash document was loaded on the fly and executed on the targeted system on the inside of the Office document. The thing is, if the sent data on the request I showed to you was not exactly what the attacker expect, we never received the second Flash object, and it finished. We don't have the potential 0-day used by this group if we don't exactly send good information to the attackers. Additionally, he used a sh variable, which means shellcode, we assume, and the second Flash object was executed, and in argument we had the sh data sent by the CC. Something fun concerning this campaign, it took place during Christmas or on the end of the year. So it's an extract from OpenDNS. You can see at the beginning only few interaction on the CC, so the campaign was really, really low. And here it's when security community discovered the document. So at this moment, we can see we have a lot of DNS requests on this CC, because a lot of security researchers try to connect the CC and get information, get the second Flash object, extra. So it generates a lot of noise on our telemetry. So if you don't have the good environment, you don't have the second Flash object, you cannot analyze what this Flash object does on the system. So you cannot identify if it's a well-known vulnerability, if it's a 0-day, or etc. You don't know anything. The second use case, a little bit similar, is a Word document named National Day Reception Dina Mesrin Bosio Ambassador Secretary.doc. And in this case, we found a LinkedIn profile about ambassador assistant at Embassy of Lebanon, and we assume it's a fake LinkedIn profile because she only has one connection. So I don't think this kind of profile only have one connection. So same thing, it's an Office document, and inside of this Office document you have a Visual Basic script. Here is the script. So at the top you can see the beginning of encoded second stage. In this case, it generates a JavaScript file on the system, and something clever from the attackers is the JavaScript file is executed with an argument, this here, and this argument is a key to decrypt the JavaScript file. So typically, if you send this mail from the JS on VirusTotal and download it, you cannot analyze it. You need the key here to be able to analyze the JavaScript document. So you must have both to work on it. So you need to have basically the Office document to be able to analyze the JavaScript file. Here is the JavaScript, and you can see here the ERC4 function, and that the key of the ERC4 function is the first argument I showed you just before. Finally, what was the purpose of all this stuff? It was to get some information on the infected system. All this information was sent to the CC, and if it matched exactly what the attacker expects from the targeted system, the remote administration tool was sent to the victim and executed on the system. If you don't send exactly what the attackers expect, you won't have anything and your investigation is finished. You cannot go deeper, and it's frustrating. Yeah, in this case, it was too compromised CC, so a legit website. And at the end, theoretically, we have a new P file named mailform.pif, like nameform.js previously. And if you don't, if your system does not match expectation, it's finished. Other example, this time it's an Excel document, survey.xls, and same thing, macro inside, and this time it uses a scheduled task to execute the second stage. I think it's to not use create process. And you can see the CC, something interesting. If you did incident response or monitor your log, it's the user agent, it's bits. Microsoft Bits. And same thing, he drop a bat script on machine, get information, typically information about username, about host name, about network configuration, domain configuration, account configuration, etc. Send this information to the CC, and the CC decide if your machine is a good candidate for infection or not. So I work on another case study that did more or less the same thing. Is a campaign against South Korean user. So I think everybody in the room speaks Korean, but I will translate if some people don't. It's a document, HWP. Yeah, in South Korea they don't use Office because they have their own local Office-like software that perfectly support Korean characters. It's Hangul word processor, and the extension is HWP. So if you saw on Aristotle HWP, it's basically South Korean Office-like document. In this case, here the logo is the logo of the Ministry of Unification. The purpose of this ministry is to one day have a kind of unique South and North Korea, etc. So a lot of business. And this document is about the speech performed by the North Korean dictator. And what kind of word he chose this year, because the naming is really important between when they have a speech from him. Inside of the document, you have two embedded document, and it's right to have additional information. Click on it. If users click on it, it will execute one of these OLE object inside of the HWP document. And in fact, these OLE objects are P file. So if the users want to see additional information, he must click on the link. If it clicks on the link, the binary are dropped and executed on the system. What is the purpose of this two binary? First thing, he opened a decoy document. Yeah, users ask for additional information, so he has additional information. And basically, you got the word choose during the speech in 2016 here, and the word choose for the speech in 2017 to see a difference if it's more aggressive, less aggressive, etc. And behind, the executable get information on the machine. So he gets the computer name, username, execution path of the binary, BIOS model, thanks to this registry key. If you make some search on Google, it's not really well used registry key. And the purpose is to detect if the target is suitable for the attack and detect, of course, virtual machine. If you, for example, I took the PCAP generated by VirusTotal. Once decoded, you have all this information. Tequila Boom Boom is the default host name on VirusTotal virtual machine. Janet is the username. Here is the execution path. So VirusTotal put directly in C drive the file with hash as file name, but normally on normal infection it should be this path and not the other one. And finally, you've got the BIOS model, Innotech VirtualBox. So thanks to the BIOS model, we know it's virtual machine and it's VirtualBox used by VirusTotal. And thanks to all this information, the attacker is able to determine if I send the second binary, the remote administration tool, or not. To complexify a little bit the big picture, the attackers compromised legitimate South Korean governmental website. So it's, I don't remember, it's legal service. So you basically, if you are in South Korea, you cannot blacklist this site. It's a legitimate website. And if the information sent to index.php are OK for the attackers, a JPEG file is generated on the CC with an ID. It's the ID of your machine. If I take this, it's this ID. And in fact, this JPEG, it's a P file encoded. So you download it, decode it, and execute it on the machine. But this JPEG file is only generated if your machine looks like the targeted machine. During our investigation, we didn't find a way to get this executable. Here is the global infrastructure used by this guy. We didn't find a way to have this final remote administration tool, but we had more luck on the next campaign, because the guy, the infrastructure stay up during few hours. It doesn't stay up during days or weeks. So if you are not really quick and if you don't try to get the second executable really quickly after the spam campaign, you won't have it. We had more chance on a second wave of email. This one is an email sent from the organizer of Korean Global Forum. It's a real forum, and it's really the email of the guy. So the attackers first compromised the email of the organizer of this forum and sent email to the target and said, ask for fill a form in attachment concerning this event. They use another kind of campaign, always with an HWP file in attachment. In this case, the email said, I'm from North Korea, I'm looking for a way to go in South Korea, can you help me, extra. So, and here, the guy has to click on the attachment to have more information about its situation. So typically it works on empathy in this campaign. Here is the two documents. So the first one here on the left is a form to fill, and the second document is explanation about the guy theoretically in North Korea. In this case, the attackers included an .eps, so it's a PostScript object inside of the HWP, and use a vulnerability to drop and execute malware on the targeted system. Yeah, it's the shellcode, and here you've got where the second PE is downloaded. It's the same pattern. JPEG file exactly as previously. They generate JPEG file on demand to infect users. In this time, we were more lucky, and we find a way to download the remote administration tool, the final one. We named it Rockrat, and I will quickly describe it because it's quite fun. The first thing is it doesn't work on Windows XP. If you execute it on Windows XP, you will be in the infinite loop of sleep. It do nothing. And basically, it's for annoying sandbox systems that work on Windows XP, like Cuckoo Sandbox. A lot of people use it on Windows XP. So you will have an empty report in this case. Even if you nub the sleep, it's an infinite loop, so it doesn't care. So the second thing, he's looking for all the running processes, and if one of the processes match analyst tool or additional tools from the virtual machine, the malware will do something really fun. In fact, he will go on internet and watch a TV show. So it's only on virtual machine, or if you have an analysis tool running on the system, it will watch TV show. It's simply to generate IOC, I think, simply to generate network on your report, and maybe to force you to lose time to understand what the fuck he's doing. But it's simply, it's detecting you are here. If it's a run on normal condition, the first CC is a Twitter account. So he directly communicates through Twitter. And he has 7 different hard-coded accounts inside of the binary. So he directly uses this account. And for incident response point of view, it's a little bit hard because it's legitimate website. So maybe you can blacklist Twitter, but maybe not. And it's HTTPS, so theoretically you cannot make money in the middle on HTTPS, or it's complicated. And if it doesn't work, or if you decided to block Twitter, he switched on the Yandex, so Russian cloud platform. And with the same thing, he has 4 hard-coded tokens inside of the binary, and use Yandex to exfiltrate document or download additional tools on the infected machine. Same thing, legitimate website, HTTPS. If it doesn't work, he has a Mediafire capability, so he can use Mediafire to do exactly the same things than Yandex. Same thing, legitimate website, HTTPS, and maybe it's something used legit for several company or entity. Additionally, he has some classical feature for remote administration tools such as a screenshot or keylogger, etc., etc. So he's able to get what you are doing on the system. So to have a summary, the thing is, on all the case I present here, everything starts by the same thing, users. Users open attachment, users click on link inside of document, and yeah, everything starts by spear phishing campaigns. All the example I had here start by an email. Sometimes it's a bad email, bad-looking email, but sometimes it's, for example, if we look at the forum email account, it's a legitimate account. If you look on the header, it really comes from University of South Seoul in South Korea, because the event, the forum is organized by the university and the account is compromised. So even if you look at the header, you cannot identify it's a bad email. And I don't have the information, I don't know, but maybe the targeted people was at this event. So in this case, the guy was at the event and 2 days after received the form, do you like the event? Yeah, he opened it and it's finished. And yeah, and we work on other cases. All the cases I presented you are APT, so targeted attack, and we can see on crimeware some tricks that can be really useful for APT actor, and maybe I think will evolve and they will take some tricks from Cramware. For example, we work on a publisher document. So nobody uses publisher, but it's installed by default if you have Office 365, for example. And something interesting with publisher, it's so old and so useless that Microsoft didn't implement protected view on it. So if you have a GPO that block macro, etc., on your infrastructure, but if it's a .pub file, a publisher file, and user click on it, he will have the message, enable content, so it's not automatically executed, but you cannot block the message. If your GPO say, I don't want to enable macro, even if the guy click on it, it won't work on publisher. It's not implemented. Publisher ignore GPO. And it's sometimes installed by default. So we maybe in few times they will switch on publisher for this kind of campaign. Yeah, each time I make presentation, I've got one guy that said to me, yes, but I use macOS, blah, blah, blah. So I dedicate this slide for him in the room. So, yeah, you are saved. So I choose a more or less by chance Office document with VBA, normal. But the VBA is really cool because it supports macOS. So yeah, you can use a Visual Script on macOS, it works. And what is the purpose is to drop a Python file on your macOS and execute the Python file, and it works. So this malicious document support macOS and drop malware on macOS without any problem. So no, you are not safe because you are on a macOS. You can enable macro and execute stuff. Yeah, let's speak a little bit about mitigations. It's nothing really new. I don't have a magic method for you, sorry guy. Third thing, disable macro, of course. On Windows, on Microsoft Office 2016, they had new feature to really be able to control macro to block user, even if you click on this button, it won't work. We have a lot of cases where PowerShell is used. We'll speak more about PowerShell after, but in this case, you can make some policy to limit execution of PowerShell or limit execution via signatures of script, etc. I know it can be bypassed. I know we can use one-liner PowerShell script to bypass this kind of thing, but it's better than nothing. We had a lot of cases where bad guys use JavaScript because it's here, it works, and it's obfuscated by default. So you can disable JavaScript if you wish, simply by switching a registry key. Normally, it doesn't break anything, except if your administrator are a huge fan of JavaScript and write everything in JavaScript. And yeah, more generally, you must patch your system, extra. So it's nothing really really new, but yeah. Yeah, for macOS, I don't have any mitigation. So to conclude on it, what we saw is really APT actors really try to protect valuable stuff, protect zero-day, protect exploit, even if it's not a zero-day, and protect complex rat framework. If it's a poison ivy, they don't really care, but if they develop something custom, generally they take care and try to don't lose this code and don't finish on virus total or stuff like that. And for my point of view as an analyst, it's really frustrating and boring to stop my analysis in middle of something. I don't have the final payload. I don't have the final remote administration tool. I must stop everything and cry alone on my office. Yeah, that's life. What we saw too is legitimate scripting language are more and more used. So PowerShell script, JavaScript, batch, and stuff like that. It's here. It works. It's legit, and generally it's not correctly controlled by company. So it's really convenient for attackers to use them. Another point, and it's due to the fact that some actors work since years, generally they perfectly know the target infrastructure. If they compromised this target in the past, they know the domain name. They know the naming convention of your machine. They know the naming convention of the username. They know more or less your network IP address range. They know everything, and it's really easy to check if it's a real machine or not. You can simply check if it's the same domain than 2 months ago or 1 year ago, because you don't change domain name every day, theoretically. Same thing for the name convention. If all your username have the same naming convention, and I think it's the case, it's really easy for attackers to detect if it's a real name or user 1, test 1, sandbox 1, etc. So generally, if the attackers know better your infrastructure than you, it's bad, but it's like that. And it really helps bad guys to deliver final payload and remote administration tool or 0 day only on the good target. And for companies, it's complicated because we don't know who is targeted, we don't know what the guy is expected, etc., etc. So yeah. Yeah, concerning the first part of the presentation, I say more or less everything. I've got 10 minutes, so I won't have any questions, sorry. And I would like to present you something we will release next week. But I've got a first question. Who use WinDBG to analyze PowerShell script? Nobody? So I will explain you why it's useful and how you can do that. Because I'm sure you open it on Blocknote and read the code, but it's too easy. I really like WinDBG, and I will show you how you can do it on this debugger and why you should do that. Yeah, so for people that don't know WinDBG, we are just here. And it's a Microsoft debugger for Windows, of course. And it's really great. If you never use it, I really recommend to install it and try to do something with it. So, first thing, if you play with PowerShell malware or dropper or stuff like that, on PowerShell you can directly execute unmanaged code. So you can directly execute load library, virtual alloc, etc., etc. In this case, you can simply debug as usual. You put a breakpoint on virtual alloc and it's finished. It's not this part that really interests me, but you can do it. In my case, I'm more interested about PowerShell API such as start process, download file, etc., etc. Often at the end, dropper executes something. So they use start process, for example. Often, PowerShell script download something on the internet. On the previous presentation, the bad guys use PowerShell and download file to download something on a compromised website. And it's something we really have often on malware analysis. So, in fact, when you use PowerShell, something you probably don't know, you use the .NET framework. In fact, PowerShell, yeah, maybe I need to increase the font. Just. Yeah. Yeah. It's something interesting. Oh, shit. If you look on the PowerShell binary, it's not developed in .NET. It's C++, it's not .NET. But if you do that on .NET file, just for comparison, you have mono/.NET. That's why I know it's not .NET file. Yeah, my color are crappy, sorry. It's not developed in .NET, but it's used behind the .NET framework. So if you are able to debug .NET code, you are able to debug PowerShell script. So I will show you. I think I will have the same problem with font size, but here if you have an extension on WinDBG named SOS, and in fact it had support of .NET debugging. So if you load this plugin, this extension, you will be able to generate breakpoint directly on .NET code. So in this case, I will add a breakpoint on process start. So I will increase the font first. So yep. I attach my debugger to the PowerShell here, and at this time, I'm able to load the SOS library. Yep, and I'm able to put a breakpoint on start process here, like that. Yeah. WinDBG is so powerful that you must execute the command twice. Yeah, it's true. And here you can see that, I don't know, six breakpoint was created. Because you can have the same function, but with different kind of argument. And you have, in this case, you can put 6 different kind of arguments to process start. And that's why he will put breakpoint on each one. At this time, I'll start. No, I must say go because I'm stopped during the execution. Yep. You can do start dash. Yeah, I'm gonna copy paste start process. I can do start process of Notepad, for example. And my debugger will be automatically blocked, stop the execution when process start will be executed. At this time, I've got specific command linked to the SOS extension that allow me to get information from .NET code. You've got, for example, CLR stack minus P. It will give you the stack, so the same thing that the stack in C++ and manage language, but in this case, it's a .NET view, you will see. So here, if I go on the top, yeah, here just after, I can see my process start here, and the argument is a start info structure. You can click on it, and here you've got the structure, so the argument, and the first field of the structure here is file name. You click on it simply, and it's a string. And here you've got the value. So you are able to get the value of start process inside of WinDBG. So basically, you can make script to automatically get this value when start process is executed. We can do something else. Just need to. We can make the same thing. I just lost my mouse. I continue the execution. And yeah, I've got a second breakpoint. Yeah, and here you've got Notepad executed between my two screens. Something else is exactly what was mentioned previously. I would like to monitor download file. So, yeah, I just need to kill it and start it again. Yeah. So I execute my PowerShell here. I've got a second debugger. I just need to increase the font. I attach it to my PowerShell. There we go. Here is, yep, okay. So at this time, I can do exactly the same thing by loading SOS, the library I mentioned to you. Okay, and I will breakpoint on download file. So here, I execute twice. It works. And I start the execution of my PowerShell. Okay, it's executing. And I create my web client object inside of PowerShell. Okay, and I try to download something on the internet. Here, you cannot read it, but it's simply a download file. My debugger is automatically stopped because I tried to do download file. And this time, instead of using I'm looking for my mouse. Instead of using celestat, I can directly ask for on a register, and in this case, I've got the URL directly in memory. So I'm gonna show you finally, because yeah, it's nice, but it's not really. It's manual. I created a Python script to automatically do this kind of things. So I use pkd. It's a Python extension for WinDBG. And I'm gonna execute my script directly on WinDBG. Oh, that's nice. And I'm going to take exactly the same thing, the download file, blah, blah, blah. And at this time, I will automatically dump everything in JSON here. So I need to go in beginning. Maybe it will be easier in this screen. Yeah. So here you can see the file name is directly demo.txt. So it's where I want to download the file thanks to download file. If I try to execute in this time notepad.exe, I got my JSON here. Notepad is executed, of course. And if I look on my JSON, I try to execute process start. The first argument is a string, it's Notepad. Second argument is a string, it's directory. In fact, in the process start object in .NET, the second field is the directory where is executed the process, etc. So thanks to this script, you can directly dump in JSON and easily manage it in Python. I show strings and integer, double, etc., etc. So typically, in this case, argument is empty because I don't put any argument to Notepad. But if I want to open a file, you will have the file path, etc., etc. And if it's Boolean, you've got 0, etc. So the code will be normally next week on Talos GitHub. And the thing is, why? I simply open my PowerShell on Notepad and it works. I can read the code. for several reasons. The first one is, imagine you have to analyze 1,000 PowerShell script. You can open 1,000 Notepad and read on it. It should work, but it's going to take time. Thanks to the Python script, you can automatically handle thousands of scripts without any problem. Other thing is, I use it to, for example, automatically unpack .NET Packer. So on the code, you have the possibility to dump byte array from memory. So if on one specific API you have a byte array, I directly dump it on a file. And it's really useful because .NET Packer usually use assembly or stuff like that, and it's byte array. And thanks to this script, you can execute your malware on a virtual machine, and it will automatically dump on your disk the byte array found in memory during API, several APIs such as load assembly and stuff like that. The syntax it's a little bit small, but you simply have to put the function you want to monitor, and it will automatically monitor them. So it's really really easy. Yes, and I love pinky stuff. And I come back quickly on the slide. Yeah, so basically all I explained and showed to you are on the slide. I will share the slide with the organizer, so you will have them on the website. Breakpoint on process start, CLR stack to get argument of on process start. In this case, it's start info structure. You've got address. You can click on it. You've got the file name, and if you click on file name, you have the execution path of the binary. You can directly get it from register if you like to play with register instead of using CLR stack and stuff like that. The difficulties with WinDBG is the syntax is really hard to parse. That's why I create a Python script to parse each field correctly, etc. Same thing for download file. I breakpoint on download file. Several breakpoints are automatically created, and I get directly from registry the first argument and the second argument. And I can manage thousands of scripts really quickly on a virtual machine. It's not a problem. And for example, I can automatically save the second argument, so save the downloaded file and put it on specific directory, and I download that once I executed thousands of scripts. It's not a problem. So if you have questions, I'll stay here all the day, so no problem. And I would like to thank Warren, especially if you send a lot of tweets. And thank you for your attention.